Okay, today we are going to learn about the dimensionality reduction by using principal component analysis. So, why we should reduce the dimensionality for our dataset? It is because when we have a dataset that has a lot of features, then we need to compress that features. For example, we have a dataset that contain 10 features, then we want to reduce the dimension for that feature into 5, 4, 3, or maybe only one features, right? So when we have a data set that has low dimension, it will make our machine learning model, has a low computational time, right? Because we don't need to use all of the features from our data set. Yeah. When we have a classification problem or maybe regression problem or even clustering problem, then we want to make our model or machine learning model can run faster. So we need to reduce the dimension for our data set. When we reduce the dimension, it doesn't mean that it will result a worse performance. So we don't want to reduce the performance for our machine learning model. So that's why we use one of the method in dimensionality reduction, which is principal component analysis. So we reduce the dimension from our data set. Yeah, we reduce the features from our data set without losing any information from there. Okay. Dimensional reduction is a process to transform data from a high dimensional space into new data in a low dimensional space such that the new data still has some meaningful properties of the original data. Yeah, a high dimensional data in machine learning leads to high computational demands, and it also has a low generalization performance and poor error estimates. Actually, we have some techniques for reduce the dimension from our dataset. We have a PCA, principal component analysis, and we also have LDA, linear discriminant analysis. And if we use the deep learning method, we can also use autoencoders. But in this case, we will learn one of these techniques. Yeah. So we will learn about the PCA, principal component analysis. Yeah, what is the PCA? PCA is a statistical techniques used to reduce the dimensions of data or variables or features without losing the intrinsic information contained in the original data. And the PCA is categorized as unsupervised learning because we don't need to train the PCA for reduce the dimension from our dataset. And PCA works by transforming the original variables into new variables. And we call it as a principal components. So it means after we transform the features into a new data, a new features, we call the new feature as a principal components. Principal components is a new features after we reduce the dimension of our dataset. And principal components are uncorrelated variables. So after we transform the data, the features into a new features, and each features will be uncorrelated. Yeah, so the variables or the new features will be uncorrelated. And the principal components order such that the first few principal components retain the most variation in the original variables. Okay, I will explain it later about this because if we have an example, so it will be easier for us to understand. Okay, for example, we have two features. Yeah, this is the data that we have. This is a data set that we have. We have X1 and X2, for example. Then we have a data. Yeah, we have a lot of points here. We have two features, in this case, yeah, X1 and X2. Then we will reduce the dimension from this data set from 2 to 1. the original data set has two features, yeah, then we want to reduce it into ones, for example. Yeah, we will reduce the dimension, and the dimension for a new features will be fewer than the original features. For example, if we have three features, after we reduce the dimension, it will be two or one, right? The dimension after we reduce, yeah, using the PCA, so the new features will only contain two features or maybe one features. If we transform, yeah, original features into the new ones, and the dimension is still the same, yeah, it will be, yeah, we will do nothing, right? So that's why we call it as a dimensional reduction. We will reduce the dimension from the features. Okay, so we have a PC1 and PC2. PC, it means the principal components. Principal components will represent the variation or maybe the distribution from this data. As you can see here, we have a two distribution into this way and this way, PC1 and PC2, right? PC1 and PC2, it represent the variation or the distribution, yeah, the distribution from this data set. It can be into this way and this way, PC1 and PC2. But we have a two principal component here. Like I was mentioning before, yeah, we will choose one principal component that represent the variation from our data set. So in this case, we will choose PC1 because PC1 more represent, yeah, the distribution from this data set, because we have two variants, we have two variation from this data set. We have two distribution into this way and this way, but we will choose one variation or one principal component that represent the high variation, which is the PC1. Okay, we will try to find the principal component, yeah, by using principal component analysis, because we have some steps here. I will explain you after this. Okay, I can skip this slide because this is, yeah, this is just an illustration, but I think this one is more represent about the illustration in PCA. So for example, this one we have X1 and X2. Then after we reduce the dimension from this data set, we will have a new features, which is Y. Y11 is a new features, yeah, that represent the data in point X11 and X2.1. Y12 represent the data in X12 and X22, and so on and so on. Yeah, the original features, yeah, we have two features, yeah, from our original data set X1 and X2. After we reduce it, we will only have one features, which is Y. Yeah, and the Y11, Y12, Y1M from two dimension into one dimension. Yeah, we will transform this observation, yeah, every observation that we have into new ones. Okay, M represent the observation, the number of data set that we have, the number of observation inside our data set. Yeah, so X11, X12, for example, this one, yeah, this one is X11 and X21. Then we will transform it into Y11 and so on and so on. We have another example here. We have a data that has a three dimension, has a three features, X1, X2, and X3. Then we reduce it into Y2 and Y1, Y1 and Y2. It means from two dimension into from three dimension into two dimension. Okay, so we reduce the dimension from the original data set, yeah. So the new data set will have a fewer dimension, right? Okay, so these are the steps for principal component analysis. Yeah, we have some steps here. We will discuss it one by one. Yeah, I will try to explain it clearly. Start from points 1. Yeah, for example, we have n-dimensional data with m observations. So the xk is the data. Yeah, data. So the data set that we have here. So x1k, x2k until xnk represent one observation, right? Yeah, for example, we have n-dimensional data, the number of features equal n, and the number of observation equal m. So xk will represent one observation in our data set. For example, we have a data set about the transactional log, yeah, from credit card application, for example. We have, for example, the age, yeah, the income, the saving accounts, and also the outcome from every bank customer, yeah. So the n represent the number of features, yeah, and m represent the number of observation. For example, in our data set we have 100 customer, yeah, 100 customer. So 100 will be the number of the observation. And the k represent, yeah, the number of the observation. K equal 1, 2 until m. Okay, we already represent the data set. Then the next step, we will calculate the mean factor. The mean factor x bar equal x bar 1, x bar 2 until x bar n. So the x bar will be the mean values for every feature that we have. For example, we have 10 features, then we will calculate, yeah, the mean values for each features. How to calculate the mean factor? As you can see here, we will divide, yeah, the sum of the features, yeah, the sum of the features. Every features we will calculate the sum. Then after that we divide it by m because we have m observation. Okay, for example, I will give an example here. Okay, wait. Okay, for example, we have a data set like this. X1, yeah, X1, X1, X2, X3, yeah. Then for observation number 1 will be 2, 3, and 4. Observation number 2 equal 3, 4, and 5, for example. Then observation number 3 equal 6, 5, and 4. Okay, I want you to calculate the mean factor from this data set, Gabriel or Kenneth. Okay, you need to calculate the factors, yeah, the x bar values, yeah, the x bar equal, yeah. So we have 3 observation, right? So the n equal 3 because the n is the number of dimension and the m is the number of observation. We also have 3 observation here. So the x bar will be, first step that we need to calculate from PCA. We need to calculate the mean values for each feature that we have. Gabriel, x1 bar, x bar 1, x bar 2, and x bar 3. You need to calculate the mean values for each features. 9, okay, 6 plus 3 plus 2, it means 11, right? 11 divided by 3, it's 3 point something, yeah, 3.8 maybe, yeah. So the yeah, 3.8, yeah, 3.8. Then for the x2, it will be 6, yeah. 9 plus 3 12 divided by 3, it will 4. Okay. Then for the x bar 3, it will be 14. 14 divided by 3, it will be around 4 point something, yeah. 4.6, for example. Yeah. So we have already calculate the x bars, the factor of the x bar. Okay. So the first thing that we need to calculate, yeah, we calculate the mean factors. Yeah, for every feature that we have, we need to calculate the mean factors. Then after that, we calculate the covariance matrix. Actually, this is the things that I think you already learned it in linear algebra class, for example, or maybe linear algebra class or mathematics class, yeah. Calculate the covariance matrix S. Okay. We can skip. We can go to the next slide first, yeah. So how to calculate the covariance matrix, yeah. Okay. Covariance measure of how much each of the variables vary from the mean with respect to each other. For example, we have two features, xi and xj. Then we want to calculate the covariance between these two variable or these two features. Covariance xi, xj equal Sej, yeah. Sej equal 1 divided by m minus 1, and we calculate the sum of xik. Xik, it means the first features, yeah, the first features in k observation, yeah, in observation number k, minus x bar e, yeah, then multiplied by xjk. Xjk is the features in the j features in observation number k minus x bar j. Then we calculate all of this. We calculate the sum of every features from our observation. Then after that, we divide it by m minus 1. Then we will have the covariance matrix from the features that we have. Okay, after this, we will calculate by an example, yeah. So if we represent the covariance by using the vectors, so this is the same formula actually, but we calculate it in vectors form, yeah. So the x, yeah, the x minus x bar, x, yeah, the x is the features, yeah, the features, yeah, the features that we have, minus the x bar, yeah, the x bar is, sorry, this is the different formulas, yeah, this is a different formula. If we compare with our previous formula here, this is the different formula, yeah. So this is the covariance between xi and xj, but this one is covariance matrix S, yeah. Covariance matrix S equal 1 divided by m minus 1. X is the features, yeah, the features itself, minus the mean values from these features, yeah, transpose and multiplied by x minus x bar, where x equal x1, x2 until xm. Okay, on the next slide, we will have an example. So this is the example for calculating the covariance, yeah. For example, this one, we have x1 and x2. So actually, this is the x1 and x2, yeah. X1 X1 and X2. X1 and X2. Yeah, first thing that we need to do, we calculate the X bar E. Yeah, X bar E, sorry, X bar 1, it will be in the mean values for the X1. Because we have 10 observation, so the M will be 10, yeah. Then we calculate the sum for all observation in X1, 4 plus 1 plus 4 and so on plus 9. Then we will have a 5.3. So 5.3 is the mean values for the X1. And we also calculate for the mean values for the x2. Yeah, 3 plus 9 plus 7 and so on plus minus 1, and we have 3.1 for the x bar 2. So we already calculate the x bar 1 and x bar 2, which are the mean values for the x1 and x2. Then the next step, we calculate the covariance. The covariance between x1 and x1. S11 is the covariance for the x1 and x1. S22 is the covariance for x2 and x2. To calculate the covariance for S11, it will be 1 divided by 9. We use this formula we use this formula. So this is the covariance S11, S22 we use this formula for calculate the covariance So we have S11 equal 1 divided by 9, then 4 minus the mean values for the x1, which is 5.3, 1 minus 5.3, and so on. And don't forget to square this we need to square 4 minus 5.3 square, 1 minus 5.3 square, and so on, and we have 7.779 So this is the covariance for x1 and x1. And for the S22 the covariance for the x2, it will use the same formula. So we get a 10.77 And S12 and S21 will be the same Okay, S12 and S21 will be the same. We use this formula for calculating the covariance for different features xi and xj. In this formula we calculate xi and xj, the covariance for xi and xj. And in this example we calculate the covariance for x1 and x2, which is 1 divided by 9 4 minus 5.3 multiplied by 3 minus 3.1, and so on. Then we have minus 6.37. Then after that, after we calculate the covariance between x1 and x2, the covariance for the x1 and x1, x2 and x2, then we can draw a covariance matrix here. Okay, so this is the covariance matrix for this data set. Minus 6.37 and minus 6.37 represent the covariance values for x1 and x2. Okay. So this is the x1, x1, x2, then this is also x1 and x2. So the covariance for x1 and x1 will be 7.79. The covariance for x2 and x1, which is the S12 or S21, is minus 6.37. Then the covariance for x2 and x2 will be 10.77. So we already calculate the covariance matrix for this data set. This is how to calculate the covariance matrix if we only have 2 features in our data set. What if we have more than 2 features? So the covariance matrix, the dimension or the shape of the covariance matrix will be the number of features times the number of features. For example, we have 3 features, so the covariance matrix will have 3 times 3 shape. So the shape of the covariance matrix will be n times n. N is the number of features that we have. Okay, so this is how to we calculate the number of the covariance matrix from the data set. Okay, any question about how to calculate the covariance matrix? No. Okay, so actually if we use the scikit-learn library, we don't need to calculate it manually so we can just call the scikit-learn for using the PCA, but we also need to know how the principal component analysis work, yeah, because as a machine learning engineer, we will not only learn about how to code, yeah, the machine learning model, but we also need to understand how the machine learning model works. Okay, so we already in step number 3, yeah. Calculate the covariance, yeah. Calculate the covariance matrix S, yeah. After we calculate the mean factors for every feature that we have, then we will calculate the covariance matrix S. Then the step number 4, we calculate the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Eigenvalues, the symbol of the eigenvalues is lambda I, and the symbol for the eigenvectors is Vi, which I represent the number of features that we have here. I equal 1, 2 until n. Yeah, the dimension, n dimension, the dimension for the covariance matrix, yeah, or the dimension for our data set. Do you remember about eigenvalues and eigenvectors, Gabriel and Kat? Yeah, cannot, yeah. So eigenvalues and eigenvectors, actually we use these two values for solving the linear problem, right? It's like linear, what is it called in Indonesia? We call it as persamaan linear, ya, linear problem. If we have a linear problem, then we want to calculate we want to get the values, yeah, for every attribute that we have. We will use the eigenvalues and eigenvectors, right? Okay, we can skip into next slide, yeah. Yeah, how to calculate the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Yeah, for example, we have matrix, yeah. A is an n times n matrix, yeah. A is an n times n matrix, then a non-zero factor of x, yeah, in real numbers, yeah, is called an eigenvectors of A if Ax, yeah, is a scalar multiple of x. So we have A is a matrix, yeah, x is vectors, then lambda is a scalar values, then x is also a vectors. So if we have an equation like this, a times x, yeah, a times x, ax equal lambda x, yeah, which is, yeah, a is of a matrix, yeah, symmetric matrix, yeah, matrix which has the same number of rows and columns, n times n matrix, yeah. And x, yeah, x is a vectors, yeah, ax equal lambda x, yeah, when where the lambda is a scalar values, yeah, the scalar lambda is called an eigenvalue of A, and x is said to be an eigenvectors corresponding to lambda. Okay, then if A is an n times n matrix, then lambda is an eigenvalue of A, yeah. If A is an n times n matrix, then lambda is an eigenvalue of A if and only if it satisfies the characteristic equation of A, which is the determinants of A minus lambda I equal 0, because the x is a non-zero factors, right? X is a non-zero factors. So if A times x, yeah, equal lambda x, yeah, then the x is non-zero, then okay, for maybe I need to draw something in my screen. Okay. For example, we have A, yeah. A is a matrix, X is a vectors. Then we have lambda, yeah, lambda X, yeah, lambda X, yeah. Then we can move this lambda X into the left, yeah. So AX minus lambda X, yeah, will be zeros, right? Then we can just make this equation A minus E, A minus lambda, yeah, wait, okay, A minus lambda, yeah, wait, lambda times identity matrix, yeah, because if we multiply a scalar values with identity matrix, so the scalar values will be a matrix, right? So this is lambda I is a identity matrix. Then we move this X outside the round bracket, will be zeros, right? AX equal lambda X, then AX minus lambda X equal zeros, because we move these values into the left, yeah. Then AX minus lambda X equal zeros. Then we move these X values, yeah, outside the round bracket. So the A minus lambda I is the identity matrix, because the A is matrix and the lambda is a scalar values. Remember, the scalar values is not a matrix values. Yeah, the scalar values is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it is a scalar values. Then because we want to calculate, yeah, a minus lambda, because the lambda is the scalar value, so we need to multiply it by an identity matrix, yeah. Identity matrix is a matrix which contain one in a diagonal for example this one, yeah. If you remember about the identity matrix, yeah, the matrix will be, if we have n times n matrix, yeah, so the diagonal matrix will be like this, right? 0, 0, 1. So this is a identity matrix, yeah. In a diagonal values from this matrix will be 1. So I is the identity matrix, because the X is not a zero values, yeah. X is a non-zero factors, yeah. So the X will not be a zero, so the A minus lambda I will be zeros, right? So for the next equation here, A minus lambda I will be zeros, because we want to calculate, yeah, the values, yeah, from scalar from matrix into scalar. So we need to use a determinant here, because the determinants, remember, if we calculate the determinant from the matrix, yeah, it will be result a scalar values, yeah. Okay, so ax my, yeah, determinant A, matrix A minus lambda I will be zeros. Okay, so this is how to calculate the eigenvalues, yeah, because this is uh there are more steps after this. We can just go to our slide again. Yeah, so the determinant of A minus lambda I equals zeros. Yeah, by the definition, yeah, the eigenvectors of A corresponding to eigenvalue of lambda are the non-trivial solution of A minus lambda I times X equal 0. So the X is a non-zero. That's why we call it as a non-trivial solution, because in this case, yeah, we want to get the values from factor X. Yeah, we want to get the values from factor X. Because of X is a non-zero factor, then we call it as a non-trivial solution. Okay. Okay, so this is the example of how to calculate the eigenvalues, yeah, the eigenvalues first. Yeah. by an example. We have a matrix A equal 1, 3, 0, 2, because in our previous slide here, we need to calculate the lambda, yeah, the eigenvalue first. So because we already have a formula like this, the determinant of A minus lambda I equal 0. So in this case, yeah, we will calculate the determinant of A minus lambda I equal determinant of 1, 3, 0, and 2, because we have not already get the values from the lambda. So we can just put lambda symbol here, then multiplied by an identity matrix. This is an identity matrix 1, 0, 0, 1. Then after that we calculate the determinant, yeah, 1 minus lambda, then 3 minus 0, 0 minus 0, and 2 minus lambda. Okay, to multiply the scalar values with matrix, yeah. So the lambda will be multiplied by an identity matrix. So it will be lambda 0, 0, lambda, right? Then if you remember, yeah, about how to calculate the determinant, because we only have 2 dimension for this matrix, yeah, 2 times 2. We have 2 rows and 2 columns. So to calculate the determinant matrix will be easy, right? Okay, so this is how to calculate the determinant matrix. 1 minus lambda times 2 minus lambda, positive, ya. And then 3 times 0, negative. Because 3 times 0 will be 0. So we only have 1 minus lambda times 2 minus lambda. So this is the determinant values for our matrix. Then after that, we can get the lambda values. We have to lambda, because the lambda can be 1 or 2, right? Okay, so we have 2 values for the eigenvalue, yeah. We have lambda 1 and lambda 2. Okay. We already get the lambda. We already get the eigenvalues, yeah. Then after this, we will calculate the eigenvector. Okay. Any question under this step? Yeah, it's like linear algebra class, yeah. I think you already take that class, yeah, linear algebra. Okay. So the lecturer will be Pak Nyoto, Bu Fitri. Oh, Pak Hasrul. Okay. Okay, so yeah, this is how to calculate the determinant from this matrix, yeah. Determinants from this matrix. So we have 2 lambdas, lambda 1 and lambda 2. So the lambda is eigenvalues, yeah. Okay. Okay, after we get the lambda, then we need to calculate the eigenvectors. So because we have 2 lambdas, so we will calculate 2 vectors, 2 eigenvectors. Yeah, the A minus lambda I times X equals 0, yeah. This is like our previous formula. This one, right? And then so this is the same numbers, yeah, with our previous slide. 1 minus 1, 3, 0, 2 minus 1, yeah. So because we already get the lambda 1 and lambda 2, then we use the lambda equal 1. So that's why we use this equation. So 1 minus 1, 3, 0, 2 minus 1, yeah. This is the lambda values, yeah. The lambda values, x1 and x2. So this is the eigenvector that we need to calculate. Then we have 0, 3, 0, 1, because 1 minus 1 is 0, 3, 0, 2 minus 1 is 1, multiplied by x1 and x2 equal 0 and 0. Then we get the x1 values equal t and x2 values equal 0. So how to get these values x1 and x2? So if you remember in linear algebra, you also learn about how to calculate the row echelon matrix, ya. Row echelon matrix, or in Indonesia we call it as matrix echelon baris, ya. Row echelon matrix. If we have values like this, ya, 0, 3, then 0, 1, ya, 0, 3, 0, 1, then this one, wait, 0, 3, 0, 1, then it will be 0 and 0, yeah, because the solution or the equation, this one is 0, yeah. So this is the x1 and x2, right? If we have a linear problem or linear formula like this, yeah, linear problem 0, 3, 0, 1, 0, 0, yeah, we want to calculate the x1 and x2. To calculate the x1 and x2, we can use the row echelon matrix, yeah. So we need to exchange, yeah. So we have row 1 and row, wait, this is a row 1, yeah. Row, yeah, row 1, this is the row 1, and row number 2, row 2. So this is the row number 2, yeah, row number 1 and row number 2. We want to calculate the x1 and x2. So we exchange the row 1 into row 2, for example, because we have first one here, right? So the next steps, yeah, we exchange row 1 into row 2. Row 1 to row 2. So it will be 0, 1 and 0, 3. Because the first one, wait, this one is 0 and 0. Yeah, in row echelon matrix, yeah, we need to place the first one, yeah, on the first rows, right? So it will be in this position. We exchange the row number 1 into row number 2. So to get the solution, we multiplied, yeah, the row 2 equal row 2 minus 3 times row 1. So it will be row 2 will be row 2 minus 3 times row 1, because row 1 is 0, 1, 0. So 0, 3, 0 minus 0, 3, 0, it will be 0, 0 and 0, right? So the third step will be like this: 0, 1 and 0, 0 and 0 and 0. So we have a 0 values for the row number 2. So this is the last step, yeah, because we already get 1 values here. So the 1 will be in the x2, right? So this is the x2. This is the x2. X2. So the x2 equal, yeah, for example, this one 0, 1, 0, it will be 0 plus x2, yeah, 0 plus x2 equal 0, right? So what is the x2? If we have a formula like this, 0 plus x2 equals 0. So the x2 will be 0, right? The x2 will be 0. So that's why the x2, the solution for this problem, it will be 0. The x2 will be 0. But like I was mentioning before, the x, the x factor is a non-zero values. If we only have a zero values in only in x2, so the x1 will not be a zero values. That's why we can just say that x1 equal t. This is just, what is it called? It is just in Indonesia we call it as the t is just permisalan, the t is the t values, because actually this is not a good example. The example from this slides is not it's not that good, because we only get one solution for the x2. But because the x factor, the eigenfactor is a non-zero values, the non-zero values, so because the x2 is already a zero, so the x1 will not be a zero. We can just say that x1 equal t. So the eigenfactors for lambda equal 1 will be 1, 0 times t. So the eigenfactors corresponds to lambda equal 1 is x equal 1, 0 t. Okay, I think you can just read from the slide. I will give you 5 minutes. We also need a 5 minutes break. 5 minutes break. If you have a question, you can just ask to me. Okay, so this is the how to calculate the eigenvalue and eigenvectors. Okay, any question? So this is how to calculate the eigenvectors, from this eigenvalue, because we have two eigenvalues, lambda equal 1 and lambda equal 2. For the lambda equal 1, we have eigenvectors, corresponds to lambda equal 1 is 1, 0 t, 1, 0 t. And if we have lambda equal 2, for the lambda equal 2, we can just change the numbers of lambda into 2. 1 minus 2, 2 minus 2, 3 and 0. Then we have minus 3, 3, 0, 0. Then the solution for this linear problem for the x1 equal 3t, and for the x2 equal t. So the x will be 3, 1, t. Okay. Okay, so the eigenvector corresponds to lambda equal to is 3 and 1. So the eigenvectors will be 3, 1, t. Okay. Hmm. Hmm? Okay. 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 So we have, okay, let me calculate it step by step. So we have minus 1 and 3, here, and 0 and 0. Okay. Then for the wait. So this is the first linear formula, then this is the second linear formula, minus 1 3 0 0 and 0 and 0. So we already get the one values there. The first one is must be on the left, yeah, the left. So in the first step here we multiplied, yeah, row number 1, yeah, row number 1 equal row number 1 multiplied by minus 1. Okay, so this is the first step. So we get the solutions here, 1 minus 3 and 0 0 0 0, right? Then for the values on the right will be 0 and 0, 0 and 0. Then we already get one values here, right? One values on the on our left, yeah, the most left row and the most left columns, because in a row echelon matrix, yeah, for the solution in row echelon matrix we need to make sure that the one values is on the in our leftmost columns, ya, di row paling kiri. So this is the solution. So the solution will be like this: x1 and minus 3 x2, ya, x2 will be zeros, right? So if we just say that the x1 or the x2, yeah, if the x2 equal t, yeah, because like I was mentioning before, this is not a good example for calculating the eigenvalue and eigenvectors, yeah, because we don't have any solution, right? So we can just say that if the x2 equal 3, yeah, if the x2 equal t, so it will be x1 minus 3t equal 0, right? So the x1 equal 3t, right? So we have x2 equal t and x1 equal 3t, right? Yeah, this is not a good example because we don't have any solution. Like you said, because the second rows does not have any values, so we cannot solve this problem. We cannot solve this linear problem because this is not a good example, because the second rows does not have any values for the x1 and x2. This is just, yeah, we can just say that if the x2 equal 3, x2 equal t, then the x1 will be 3t. Like that's why the x2 equal t and the x1 equal 3t. Yeah, this is not a good example because we don't have any solution from this matrix. Yeah, if we have a matrix like this, yeah, we have a matrix like this. This is not a good example for calculating the eigenvalues and eigenvectors because we don't have any solution for every eigenvectors. Yeah, we have a solution for eigenvalues. The lambda 1 equal 1 and lambda 2 equal 2, but the eigenvectors that correspond to each lambda is, yeah, we don't have any solution for the eigenvector that correspond to this lambda. And that's why we can just say that one variable, yeah, for the x1 or x2, yeah, we can just say in this case x2 equal t, for example, then the x1 will be 3t. Yeah. Yeah, I hope that answer your question, Gabriel. Okay. Okay. So we have eigenvalue and eigenvectors of covariance matrix. After we get the eigenvalues and eigenvector that correspond to that eigenvalues, yeah, for example, suppose V1, V2, and Vn are the eigenvectors of covariance matrix S correspond to eigenvalues where the lambda 1 is greater than or equal to lambda 2 greater than or equal lambda n. So we need to sort the eigenvalues in descending orders. So the lambda 1 will be greater than or equal to lambda 2, and lambda 2 is greater than or equal lambda 3, and so on and so on. In this example, for example, this one we have two eigenvalues, lambda 1 and lambda 2. So the lambda 2 will be lambda 1 and lambda 1 will be lambda 2 because the lambda 2 is greater than lambda 1. So we need to sort the lambda values first. Then after that, we can create eigenvectors. So the V1 correspond to lambda 1, V2 correspond to lambda 2, and Vn correspond to lambda n, where the lambda 1, lambda 2, until lambda n is in descending orders. After we get the lambda values and the eigenvector that correspond to that lambda values, then we need to sort the lambda values, the eigenvalues from the greater one to the smallest one. We sort the lambda values in descending order. And Vi and Vj are orthonormal for I is not equal j. It means if we multiply the V1 and V2, so we will get a zero values. That's why we call it as orthonormal. So the vector Vi and Vj are orthonormal. If we multiply the vector Vi and Vj, it will result a zero values. Because like I was mentioning before, the principal components is not correlated. So in this example, we have PC2 and PC1. This is orthonormal. In Indonesia, we can just call it tegak lurus. PC2 and PC1 is orthonormal. If we multiply the vectors of PC1 and PC2, it will result as zero values. That's why if we multiply the V1 with V2 or V2 with V1, V2 and V3, V1 and V3, when we multiply that vectors, it will result as zero values. And if we normalize the vectors, the eigenvectors, it will also result one values. So the Vi, if we normalize it using L2 or L2, this is L2 norm, L2 normalization, L2 normalization. If we normalize the V1, V2 or Vn, it will result one values. And the total variance of original data is equal to sum of all eigenvalues of S. So if we calculate the sum, the total variance of Xi, the variance, the sigma values, sigma square values, the variance of Xi, if we summarize it, and it will be equal with the sum of the SII, the covariance values, and it will also the same values if we sum of the lambda, the eigenvalues. But the var Xi, SII, and lambda I is not the same. For Xi, the variance of Xi, the covariance matrix of II and lambda I is different, but if we summarize all of the values, it will be the same. Okay. Then the eigenvalue and eigenvector of covariance matrix, suppose the V is a matrix, which contain a vector 1, vector 2 until vector n. Is a matrix with each column consists of eigenvectors of S correspond to eigenvalues lambda 1, lambda 2 until lambda n. Then if we multiply the inverse of V vector, multiplied by S, S is a matrix, the covariance matrix, and multiplied again by matrix V, it will be a diagonal matrix, the diagonal matrix. So the D equal lambda I, lambda 1, lambda 2 until lambda n. Okay, so this is just a behavior in eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Yeah, if we already get the eigenvalues and eigenvectors, then if we multiply it, yeah, the eigenvectors, yeah, with the covariance matrix and multiply it again by the eigenvectors, it will be a matrix D. Yeah, so yeah, this is just a behavior for the eigenvalue and eigenvectors with the covariance matrix. Okay, so this is an example. Yeah, in this case, suppose that we have the S matrix, matrix S equal 7.79 minus 6.37 minus 6.37 and 10.77. So this is the covariance matrix. Yeah, this is the covariance matrix from this example. Yeah, the covariance matrix. Then after that, we calculate the eigenvalues, yeah, from this matrix. Then we get lambda 1 equal 15.82 something and lambda 2 is 2.73 something. Then the eigenvector that correspond to lambda 1, yeah, or we can just call it a PC1. Yeah, the V1 equals 0.62 and something and minus 0.78 something. Yeah, so this is the eigenvectors that correspond to the lambda 1. And for the eigenvectors that correspond to the lambda 2, yeah, so the V2 equal minus 0.78 and minus 0.62. This is the vector, the eigenvector that correspond to lambda 2. Okay, so after we get this covariance matrix, we need to calculate the eigenvalues and eigenvectors from this covariance matrix. Okay, the first step, we need to calculate the eigenvalues first. Then we get lambda 1 and lambda 2. Then we need to sort these eigenvalues, yeah, in descending order. That's why we have a lambda 1 equal 15.82 and lambda 2 is 2.7 because the lambda 2 is less than lambda 1. Yeah, so that's why we give the number for this lambda as a lambda 2. Then after that, we get the eigenvector that correspond to this eigenvalues. Yeah, we also get the vectors that correspond to this lambda values. So if we multiply the factor 1 and factor 2, yeah, it will result as 0 values because the factor 1 and factor 2 is orthonormal, is an orthonormal factors. Yeah, if we multiply these two factors, it will result as 0 values. Okay, so yeah, suppose matrix V equal V1, V2, and Vr, where yeah, so yeah, is a matrix with each column consists of eigenvectors of S correspond to R largest eigenvalues lambda 1, lambda 2 until lambda R. To transform, yeah, the original features into a new one, which is a principal component, we need to use this formula. So the yk is the new features, yeah, to transform the original features, yeah, the x is original features, yeah, to a variable yk in principal component coordinate system. We use this formula. Yk equal xk, the original features, minus the x bar. X bar is the mean values, yeah, for these features after we calculate it from all observation that we have. Then we multiplied it by V, which is the eigenvectors matrix. Yeah. Okay. So the covariance matrix of yk will be like this. Yeah. So this is the covariance matrix of yk, where the yk is uncorrelated to each other. So the retained total variance explained by R pieces. Yeah. The total variance that retained, yeah, by the principal components will be the sum of the lambda 1 divided by the sum of lambda 1 in all eigenvalues that we have. Okay, maybe I will give you some example here. Wait. Okay, because we already get the eigenvalues, yeah. So this is the eigenvalue, the covariance matrix that we have, yeah. Where is the? Okay, so this is the covariance matrix that we have. Then we get the lambda 1, yeah, the lambda 1 equal 15.82 and lambda 2 equal 2.78, right? And the eigenvectors that correspond to these eigenvalues, yeah, the eigenvector that correspond to these eigenvalues is 0, 0.62, yeah, and minus 0.78. So this is the eigenvectors 1, yeah, eigenvectors 1, eigenvectors 1, and for the eigenvectors 2 will be minus 78 and 0.62, yeah, with minus. Okay, so minus 0.78 and minus 0.62. So this is the eigenvectors 2. Okay, eigenvectors 2, right, from this covariance matrix. Then after that, the phi vectors, yeah, the capital letter of phi, yeah, phi will be 0.62, minus 0.78, yeah, and minus 0.78 and minus 0.762. So this is the matrix phi, yeah, matrix phi. The matrix phi will be like this. Then we will use this matrix for transforming the original features into a principal components. Okay. First thing that we need to do, we need to sort the eigenvalues in descending order. And after that, we get the eigenvectors that correspond to each lambda values. Then we put the eigenvectors 1 into a first column, yeah. So the eigenvectors 1 will be on the first column and the eigenvectors 2 will be on the second column. Why the eigenvectors 1 is on the first column? Because it corresponds to the lambda 1, which has the larger values than or greater values than the lambda 2. Yeah, and that's why we place the first column into, we use the first column to for the eigenvectors 1. Yeah, so we get a phi matrix here. So we will use this matrix for transforming the original features into a principal components. But it depends on the number of principal components that we set, yeah. Because like I was mentioning before, if we have 2 features, after we reduce the dimension of the features, the maximum principal component that we can choose is only 1, right? Because if we choose a 2 principal components, yeah, so the dimension after we transform it using the principal component, it's still 2 features, right? That's why we need to choose, yeah, only 1 principal components in this case, because the original features has 2 dimension, yeah, 2 dimensions, so the principal component will be 1 dimension. Okay, I think we need a 5 minutes break again, yeah. So if you have any question, you can just review from the slide, yeah. You can just read from the slide maybe you still have any question related to the eigenvalues or eigenvectors, we can discuss it together. Okay. So this is the step for transforming the original features into a principal component coordinate system. We use our previous example here. We have the original features x1 and x2, and this is the y. The y is the principal components. We will transform the 2D variable xk into 1D variable yk. And the largest eigenvalue lambda equal 15.82 because we have two lambda. We have two lambda. In this case we have two lambdas. We will only choose one lambdas because we want to reduce the dimension from 2D to 1D. That's why we only choose one lambda. And the eigenvectors that correspond to this lambda is V1. Okay. The eigenvector that correspond to lambda 1 is V1. So this is the V1. So the V matrix will be the V vectors. So the yk is the new features or the principal components equal xk. Xk is the original features. For 3 minus 5.3 and 3.1. This is the mean values for the x1 and x2. Then multiplied by the V vectors. Then after that we get y1 equal 0 minus 0.72. And we did it, we do it for all of the observation that we have. So we have a new features which only contain one dimension features. So the question is why we only choose the first lambda. Because we want to transform from 2D to 1D, right? If we choose all of the lambda that we have, so we have two eigenvectors. Then if we multiply it, if we transform it, it will still have the same dimension with the original features, and we will do nothing, right? So we only choose one lambda. So the total variance explain, if we only use one principal components. So to calculate the variance, total variance, it will be 15.82 divided by 15.82 plus 2.73, which is the 2.73 is the lambda 2, lambda number 2. So the total variance explained is the number of variants that is still retained for this principal component is equal 85%. In Indonesia we can just call it the variance yang masih dipertahankan, that still retain by the new principal components is around 85.24%. The total variance that is still retained from the original features is around 85.248%. So how to choose the right number of principal components, because this will affect to the number of features after we reduce the dimension. We can just use the threshold, the variance threshold. In this example, we set the threshold into 95%. So we will choose the number of lambda which has the total variance that is retained greater than 95%. Or we can use the Scree plot. Scree plot is the plot of eigenvalues of covariance matrix in descending order. So this is the Scree plot. We sort the eigenvalues in descending order. Then we plot the eigenvalues by its number. So the R is the number of eigenvalues that we have. Start from 1 to 30 because we have 30. In this case, we have 30 features, yeah. So the principal component will be also 30, yeah. But on the elbow position is on the 4, yeah. So the principal component that we choose in this case will be 4. We will get the 4 highest eigenvalues, yeah, from our covariance matrix. Or maybe we can just try one by one by, yeah, we experiment with the number of PC, for example, start from 1 to 10, for example. It's like when we use the KNN for classifying the data set, yeah, we just try the number of K start from 1 to 10, for example. Then it can also happen for choosing the right number of principal component in PCA. So we choose the PCs start from 1, then we will see the accuracy, yeah. Then we set to 2, then we can get the accuracy also. Then we will choose the right number of PC depends on the accuracy that is get after we choose the number of PC. So we will choose the number of PC that has the highest accuracy. Okay, so actually this is the implementation of the principal component in Python, yeah, using NumPy. In this case, we create a data set using MacBlobs, yeah. So the MacBlobs is the library for generating the data set, yeah. So in this case, we we create a two variable x and y here, x and y. So actually the y will not be used, yeah. So the x is the features which contain 10 number of samples, and the number of features equal to, which means we have x1 and x2, yeah, for the features. And the centers equal 1, cluster standard deviation equal 1, yeah. We can just set these values, yeah. This is it's just the parameters for creating the data set, yeah. Then the random set equal 1, then center box equal 1.2. Yeah, you can just experimenting by yourself by changing the values for the centers, cluster, standard deviation. So actually the data will be like this, yeah. The data, wait. So the data will be like this. After we generate the data, then the data will be like this, yeah. We generate a 10 samples, yeah. So this is the data that we will reduce the dimension because we have x1 and x2. Then yeah, we multiplied the data by 3, yeah, because I think if we only use the x from MacBlobs, yeah, it's too small, so we multiplied it by 3. All of the features, all of the observation is multiplied by 3, yeah. So the x1 will be multiplied by 3 and x2 also multiplied by 3. Then we use the scatter plot here, yeah, scatter plot, and the x-axis and the y-axis will depends on the second index, yeah, for the x. So x colon comma 0 will be the x-axis, and x colon comma 1 will be the y-axis. And the size for the points, yeah, equal 30, yeah, it is the size, yeah. And the marker equal star here. Then we give the label for the x-axis and y-axis, yeah. So it will be like this. Yeah, the data set will be like this. Then after that, we calculate the mean and covariance matrix, yeah, by using the mean function x dot mean, x is equal 1, because we will calculate the mean by each column, yeah, because every column will represent the features. That's why we use the x is equal 0s. Then for the S, yeah, S is the covariance matrix, yeah, for this data set, yeah. So the S, yeah, the S is the covariance matrix will be like this, yeah. Then if we calculate, yeah, if we want to find the eigenvectors and eigenvalues that is correspond to the covariance matrix, yeah, So we will get the eigenvectors by using the lin alg dot eigen function. It will automatically calculate the eigenvalues and eigenvectors for this covariance matrix. Yeah, for the eigenvalues, we put it into L variable, and for the eigenvectors, we put it into V variable. Then if we print the eigenvectors, so this is the eigenvectors that correspond to these eigenvalues. Minus 0.78 and minus 0.62 is the eigenvectors that correspond to 2.73 eigenvalues, and so on and so on. Yeah, if we multiply the V1 with V2, it will be zeros, yeah, because the V1 and V2 is orthonormal of, or we call it as tegak lurus, yeah. So that's why the V1 multiplied by V2 will be zeros. Then if we want to normalize the V1 and V2, it will be a 1, yeah. Then the total variance, yeah, of the original data equals 18.55, yeah. And sum of all eigenvalues is also the same, 18.55. Okay, so because we already get the largest eigenvalues, yeah, which is 15.81, then the eigenvectors that correspond to these eigenvalues is 0.62 and minus 78, yeah, 0.78. Then the total variance that is explained by the PC1 will be 85%. Then after that we can transform, yeah, we can transform the original features into the principal components by using this formula, ya, x minus x bar dot v colon comma 1 colon, because we choose the eigenvectors that correspond to the 1581 eigenvalues. Yeah, that's why we use the 1 here. Okay, but we can also use the library from scikit-learn.decomposition, the PCA library here. Yeah, for example, this one, we only choose the number of components equal 1. Yeah, so the argument of number of components, if we set it to 1, then we only choose one principal components. If we transform the features into the principal component, so we will get the same values. Yeah. Okay. And in this case, we can also try it in the dataset from scikit-learn, breast cancer, yeah, for breast cancer dataset. So this is for loading the dataset. Then we put the features into X variable and the target into Y variable. And in this example, we set the argument number of components equal 0.99. So it means we will choose the number of PC that still retain around 99% of total variance. Yeah, so the number of selected PCs will be 2. Yeah. And in this case, we can also use the scree-plot, yeah, for getting the right number of LBU, the right number of principal components. Yeah. So in this case, we sort the eigenvalues, yeah, from the larger one into the smallest one, from the largest one into smallest one. Then we get the number of PC equal 4. Or maybe we can also try one by one. Yeah, so the number of PC we choose it start from 1 to 10. Yeah, then we will see the accuracy, yeah, that is obtained for every pieces that we choose. And in this case, we get the optimum selected PC equal 4, because 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 and 10, yeah, still get the same result, yeah, around 94%. Okay, I think you need to implement this code first, yeah, Gabriel and Kenneth. Then if you have any question, we can discuss it. Yeah, Gabriel. Wait, where is my mouse? X and Y must have the same first dimension, but have same time and